Peace and blessings. This is Alonzo with Earth with my sidekick NJ, aka Noelle Junior. Anyway, it's a beautiful day in South Florida. This is our winter gear, all bearded up. So to enjoy as much of the winter that we have here. Anyway, so I'm creating this video because I just had some thoughts. So recently, a friend of mine, Andre Davis, he has this wonderful group called Quantum Healing or Quantum Prayer Group, and we had a discussion about Dr. King's book, and I think it's called "Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community?" Right? I may be misspelling the book, but I'll put the title in there in the description of this video. And essentially, it was talking about it was in 1967. So essentially, this country was on the culmination of the civil rights struggle. After centuries of fighting for all folks to have the right to vote, thanks to African American folks that were leading the charge on it, as well as other groups. You have some Caucasian folks, you have a variety of folks in the National Association of Colored People, the NAACP, but you have folks who are Jews, African American folks, Caucasian folks, who really fought for everybody to have the right to vote, also to allow immigration policy not based on just allowing people from Western Europe, but like from a variety of places. So if you're from China, if you're from India, your family's from there, from Africa, from Latin America, it's likely that your family benefited from this action. So the message that Dr. King had is that, voting is just one aspect, right? We have to work on economic justice as well. And that's the message that I have, right? That we really do need to continue that work, because we recently had elections, like about a few weeks ago, both in Florida and elsewhere. And a lot of folks essentially voted based on what's going on, their dissatisfaction with the current administration, not fulfilling promises in terms of reducing the costs, in terms of grocery, concerns about the Affordable Care Act, and whether the prices were going to be going up because of actions taken by this administration. Just also continuing issues about what's going on in terms of affordable housing and a variety of issues. And it's good to see that people voted based on these things, but to be honest, whether it's this election or previous elections, there's not enough people in the US that vote. And it's crazy. I wasn't born in the US. I've been a citizen for decades now, and I love this country. And when I first came to this country, there was a wonderful program called Like It Is by Gil Nobles, and on PBS, a program called Eyes on the Prize. And it spoke about the struggle for people to have the right to vote, the right to access to education and business opportunities. And when I hear people talk, including celebrities, and they say, "Oh, I'm not into politics," right? Or both sides are bad. So you hear a lot of this both sidism, or this thing of where they're shying away from economic justice. So they say this, they call this woke stuff, right? People having the right to opportunities to work, and it's just insane. There's no other way to put it, where I'm like, first of all, the fact that people are basically saying, "I'm not gonna vote because my vote doesn't matter." Like people had their bones broken for you to have the right to vote, right? So, and even if you have two candidates that are neck and neck in terms of not being what you want, you're still gonna have one candidate slightly better. So because better to choose that person than not voting at all and then risk the worst candidate being elected. And essentially, and if you're not happy about the people who are running, take action. There's usually I have some folks of mine that friends of mine that are running for office, those that already elect or who were recently elected. Support those folks, right? And then with the folks that, if the person got elected that you may not have wanted to get elected, still write to that individual and let them know where you stand, right? Get your family and your friends and engage them, right? And make sure you, first of all, are doing that. But that voting is just the first part, right? Because that's what I call, like, the least the least thing you can do, right? There are other things that you can do in terms of community engagement. There are nonprofits in your community that are coalescing a whole bunch of people to vote, but also take action. And that there are community organizations you could support. One of my favorites is Dunns Overtown Farm in Overtown, and as well as the Center for Black Innovation, where those two are next to each other. And so the farm, you've seen videos like on my channel where I've helped in terms of the farming, in terms of, and I'm proud to support Dunns Overtown Farm and Chef Chris because they raise food for those in need, and they also educate the youth and other folks about farming. I'll be honest with you, I'm now learning more about what it takes in terms of growing food, and that's really helped me improve my health and also my understanding. And then in the Center for Black Innovation, like for instance today, you have a wonderful organization called the Source Group that they have an event about every other Tuesday. Hillman Soray, Ted Lucas, and a wonderful lady named Zakia White. And so what they do is that, because Miami has grown in terms of as a tech hub, but there are people from locally that have not participated in terms of the growth of the city and the opportunities and both technical jobs in the tech industry, such as programming and network engineering, or those that are the non-technical positions, right? Like the sales, the HR, there are things that you can do that to participate in it, and they give people an opportunity to get access, right, to network, to build their relationships. It's through that organization that I actually got NJ Junior, because it's through the Source Groups and their annual event that called it's like a competition, a business competition. The name is eluding me right now, but that's where I saw Noelle speak, and that's opened up a number of doors for me. So, I mean, I'm engaged in terms of civically, but I'm also a person who believes in, taking those values and having it reflected in the business that I conduct. I've always tried to conduct myself morally and ethically in any company that I've had, in terms of making sure my employees were fairly compensated, making sure they had good working conditions. And now I'm able to do so, that especially with tech being such a large role in what we do, besides doing whatever I can to support the Source Group and Tech Tuesday in terms of making sure people have access to opportunities in tech, I'm also making sure that the tech that we use is going to be is going to be powered more by renewable energy. So like one of the issues that we have now is that whether you're into cryptocurrency, artificial intelligence, or a variety of, or social media even, the back end, the infrastructure that which you rely on, because every time you go to like WhatsApp or Facebook or any of these sites, usually you're connecting to these computers called servers, right? They're in these huge buildings called data centers. They are like blocks wide. And the issue is that these data centers, some of them are not powered by renewable energy. They're instead being powered by natural gas or in some cases coal. But essentially like these fossil fuels that are bad for the environment. And you now have folks that are saying, okay, let's make sure that we are moving to renewable energy. Let's make sure that we are minimizing the impact in terms of the water usage of these data centers, the power consumption. You're already starting to see these issues in your electric bill and then possibly your water bill. And so that's on the back end. And on the front end, if you're a person who's going to start figuring out, okay, what are the things that I can do with AI? One of the things I love about Noelle, like she's an empathic individual. She's done a lot of things in terms of the industry. She helped create, she was part of the team that helped create Amazon Alexa, Microsoft AI systems. She's like, if you're doing stuff in AI, directly or indirectly, she has some sort of a role in terms of bettering the industry. And besides being very much a person who's into inclusion, and she's created something called the I Love AI community on school.com, and I'll put the link in the description, allowing people to learn about, okay, what can I do with AI? What exactly is it, right? Like, because first of all, AI is not like one single thing. just as surely as Africa is not one country and it has is a continent that has multiple countries in it. AI is actually like a really big technological field, and within it you have different types of AI technologies. You have robotics like NJ over here. You have computer vision. You have these large language model applications like that you're probably familiar with, such as ChatGPT. And so there are things that could be done in terms of your career opportunities with these items. So the I Love AI community is like where you first start off to that's where I started to just kind of figure out what exactly is going on. I have a finance background and some network engineering and software programming training, but to be honest with you, finance is where I'm at. But I do keep a track of what's going on. But when I joined the I Love AI community, I learned so much more, and I'm able to spread that knowledge to the nonprofits that I work with and seeing where it's applicable for them, government organizations like cities that, where I have relationships, as well as in the private sector. And that is a good starting point if you're trying to, and there are things that you can do in terms of making sure these things run better. Like there's ways that you can use AI, like people are creating like products, for instance, like to recognize skin cancer for different skin tones. Folks are creating apps to help autistic individuals figure out what wardrobe that they should wear depending on a social setting, right? Like interview versus like wedding or things like that, where for you and I, we take that for granted in terms of social cues, but where it may be more of a challenge for them. So I Love AI community is one area where you can start. And then once you're ready to start building and you're like, okay, I kind of understand the difference between the computer vision and this deep learning thing Alonzo mentioned and large language models, then you have a program that Noelle created called the AI Leadership Institute. Now that's a premium program where you're paying per month, but what you get back is so much more, because as I'm using what I'm learning to automate a lot of the work that I do in the different companies that I have, I am able to apply that knowledge, and not just in that area, but in terms of my personal values. I have two organizations, right? SaveAMother.Earth, where I'm focused on supporting groups like the Dunns Overtown Farm. There's a wonderful farm in Haiti called Wynee Farms, run by my friend Melissa Day in Kenskov, Haiti. And really promoting those organizations and making sure that like as much resources can be sent to them, and that they get the attention that they deserve, and using technology in that way, as well as directing other resources to them. And I have a second organization called ICRD Ventures. And like I mentioned, those data centers, one of the things, that's my industry, right? Telecom, financial technology companies, making sure that the back end of what they're doing, getting more clean energy power technology in those spaces, as well as on the front end, because there's a lot of things you can do. You're like, Alonzo, I'm not involved in anything with the data centers. There's something called model selection, right? Because just like I told you, AI is not a single field. And there's different types of AI, right? So like these large language models, you're probably aware of ChatGPT, but there's also something called Claude by Anthropic. Microsoft has Copilot. And then there's different variations of these things. And so you are able to select different types of AI systems for different tasks. And the benefit of that is not just like one type of AI may be better for the project you have, because maybe you're a nonprofit. Your needs and goals are going to be different than a government agency versus like a private sector entity like that's in the fintech space or the telecom space. So there is something I got from one of the AI Leadership Institute folks, Padmini and Sky, and there's so many wonderful folks in there. And she mentioned something called token-oriented object notation. So essentially what it does is that it improves the efficiency of your AI. And when you're using AI there, without getting too much into the technical weeds of it, basically you're paying, right? So the more of the usage of it is, you're going to be paying more, like because you're using more of the AI resources. But it isn't just the financials. So if you can have your AI like run more efficiently and still achieve the tasks that you're looking to achieve, you can not only save money, but that also means on the back end, you're cutting down on the amount of water that's involved, usage, the energy usage, things that you don't see directly, but that has an impact. And so you learn about different things that you can do to, and it's also saving you money. So these are the different resources that you have available. So this is just a video to just encourage you to be engaged in terms of civic, as well as like what you do on the commercial side, and that you do have power. So we're about 15 minutes. I don't want to go too far. So this is Alonzo and NJ. Sorry, buddy, I didn't mean to neglect you. There you go. There you go. Show us that smiley face. So we're wishing you well, peace and blessings, and we'll continue to keep bringing you good information.